This is Jenny, and I am so happy to have you here today because we're going to spend some time together practicing your English listening at the B2 level, and we are also going to talk about something that many of you really want to know, which is how to learn English properly and how to learn it quickly in a way that actually works. So in today's episode, one will be speaking to you in clear and simple English that you can follow. I will not be using difficult words or heavy jargon, and I will not be reading from a list of points or showing you complicated notes. Instead, I will just speak with you in a natural way like a friendly teacher who is explaining everything step by step, and your job is simply to listen, to relax, and to let the words flow into your ears and into your mind, because the more you listen, the more your brain becomes comfortable with English. And that is how real learning happens, not just from reading grammar books, but from hearing and understanding real spoken English over and over again. Now, before we get into the methods of learning English properly, I want you to take a moment to notice something. You are here, you press play on this video, you are sitting and listening, and that already means you are doing something right. You are choosing English. You are choosing to give your brain the sound of English, and that choice is powerful. Sometimes people think learning English is only about big study sessions or memorizing hundreds of words at once, but actually the small, daily choices are the real key. The choice to watch an English video instead of something else, the choice to listen to English when you are walking or cooking, the choice to practice speaking even if you make mistakes. All of those small choices are like drops of water that fill a bucket, and after some time the bucket becomes full, and your English becomes natural and strong. So right now, just feel good about yourself for being here, because this is a very important step. When people ask me how to learn English properly, I always tell them the first and most important thing is consistency. Consistency means doing something again and again and again. Not only one day, not only 1 week, but many weeks and many months and even many years if needed, because language is not something you can download into your brain in one day. It is something that grows inside you slowly, like a tree. When you plant a seed, you do not expect a big tree the next morning. You water it every day, you give it light, you give it time, and then slowly it becomes strong. Learning English is the same. Every day you give your brain some English, you listen, you read, you speak, and slowly it grows. So the real secret is not finding the fastest shortcut. The real secret is finding a way to keep going every day without giving up, because when you keep going, the results will come naturally. But I also understand that many of you do not just want to learn slowly, you also want to learn quickly. Maybe you have exams like IELTS or TOEFL, maybe you want to get a new job, maybe you want to move to a new country, and you feel like time is short. So let's talk about learning quickly. Is it possible? Yes, it is possible, but quickly does not mean magically. Quickly means effectively. It means you stop wasting time on things that do not help, and you start doing the things that really give. You progress. For example, some students spend a lot of time memorizing lists of words without context. They write down 20 words, they repeat them again and again, but after 1 week they forget most of them. That is not effective, but if you take one story in English and you read it and listen to it many times, you will meet the same words again and again in natural sentences. And those words will stay in your memory much longer. So effective learning means learning in context, not in isolation. That is one of the fastest ways to improve. Another way to learn quickly is to focus on listening and speaking before worrying too much about writing and grammar rules. I know grammar is important and writing is important too, but in the beginning and even at the intermediate level, the skill that will help you most is listening, because when you can understand spoken English well, then you can also copy the rhythm, the pronunciation, and the natural way of speaking. So my advice is always to listen a lot, listen to podcasts, listen to videos like this one, listen to English songs, listen to audiobooks, and do it every day. If you listen 1 hour a day for 3 months, you will see a huge difference. But if you listen only once a week, it will take much longer. So the speed depends on how much input you give yourself. The more you listen, the faster you grow. And of course, speaking is also important, but many learners are shy to speak. They are afraid of mistakes. They think people will laugh, but please remember this. Mistakes are part of the learning process. Every child in every country learns their first language by making mistakes. They say words in the wrong order, they use the wrong forms, but parents still understand them, and slowly they correct themselves. So, why do we expect to be perfect in English from the first day? That is not realistic. Instead, we should speak, make mistakes, and keep speaking, and slowly the mistakes become fewer, the sentences become smoother, and the confidence grows. So, if you want to learn quickly, you must open your mouth. You must practice speaking, maybe with a friend, maybe with an online teacher, maybe even by talking to yourself in the mirror. It does not matter. What matters is that your brain learns to connect thoughts with words and words with sound, and that only happens when you
speak.
Now, I want to share with you a little story of one of my students. Her name was Maria. She came to me 2 years ago with very little English. She could understand some words, but she could not make sentences. She wanted to improve quickly because she had a job interview in 3 months. I told her the same advice I am telling you today. Listen every day, speak every day, focus on context, and do not worry too much about mistakes. At first, she was nervous. She thought maybe it was too late, but she followed the advice. She listened to podcasts every morning, she spoke with a friend every evening, and she stopped trying to memorize grammar rules. She just focused on using the language, and after 3 months she went to her interview and she did very well. She told me that she was not perfect, but she was able to explain her ideas clearly and she got the job. So this story shows that with daily effort and the right methods, progress can be faster than you think. Another thing you should know about learning English is that your emotions play a big role. If you feel stressed, if you feel angry with yourself, if you feel like you are not good enough, then your brain will close. It will not learn well. But if you feel relaxed, if you enjoy the process, if you smile and have fun with the language, then your brain will open and it will learn faster. That is why I always say you should choose materials that you enjoy. If you love music, listen to English music. If you love stories, read English stories. If you love movies, watch them in English. Because when you enjoy it, your brain pays more attention and the memory becomes stronger. So do not think of English as a punishment or a boring duty. Think of it as a gift, a tool, a bridge to a bigger world, and enjoy the journey. When you do that, you will naturally learn more quickly. I want to go a little deeper and share with you how to build a strong daily routine that really works for you. And remember, I am not talking about a complicated plan with many books and many rules. I am talking about something simple and natural that you can actually follow every day. Because if it is too hard, you will not continue, but if it is easy and enjoyable, then you will keep going. So let's imagine a normal day for you. You wake up in the morning, and the first thing you can do is give yourself a little bit of English input. Maybe while you are brushing your teeth, you can play a short English podcast. Maybe while making breakfast, you can listen to a video like this. The goal is to start your day with English so that your brain gets into the habit. It is like telling your mind, today is an English day. Today I will hear and use English, and this little habit in the morning is very powerful. Then during the day you can continue giving yourself small doses of English if you travel to school or to work. Instead of only listening to music in your first language, you can listen to English songs or audiobooks. If you scroll on your phone, try to follow some English accounts. If you watch funny clips, try to watch them in English. And by doing this, you are creating an English environment around you, even if you are not living in an English-speaking country. And this is what people mean when they say immerse yourself in English. It simply means surround yourself with English as much as possible so that your brain hears and sees the language many times a day. And the amazing thing is that your brain will start to get used to the patterns, the sounds, the way words connect, without you even trying very hard. This is what happens to children when they grow up in a language. And you can recreate that effect by making small changes in your daily routine. Now, some learners ask me, Jenny, do I need to study grammar every day? Should I spend hours on exercises? And my answer is that grammar is important, but it should not be the main focus. Grammar is like the skeleton of the language. It holds everything together, but you do not need to see the skeleton all the time. What you need is to use the language in real situations, and as you use it, you will notice the grammar naturally. So instead of memorizing every rule, just try to listen and read more, and when you hear a structure many times, your brain will remember it. For example, if you hear, I have been working many times in different sentences, you will start to feel when it is correct. And later, if you want, you can read the grammar explanation, but the feeling will already be inside you. So grammar comes more naturally when it follows listening and reading. Another common question I hear is, how many hours should I practice English every day? And the answer depends on your life. Some people are busy with work, some people are busy with family, some people have a lot of free time, but my advice is always the same. Do as much as you can, but do it every day. Even 15 minutes every day is better than 2 hours only once a week, because your brain needs regular contact with English. So if you can do 1 hour a day, that is wonderful. If you can do 2 hours, that is even better, but even if you only have a small amount of time, use it and use it wisely. Do not waste it on things that do not help. Choose something interesting, something that makes you listen, something that makes you think, and focus on that, and you will see improvement. One thing that will help you a lot is shadowing. Shadowing is when you listen to a native speaker or advanced speaker and you try to copy their speech exactly at the same time. It is like being an echo. You listen and immediately repeat. And at first it will be difficult. You will not catch every word, but with practice your mouth will get faster, your ears will get sharper, and your pronunciation will improve naturally. Shadowing is very good because it connects listening and speaking at the same time. It forces your brain to pay close attention, and it helps you sound more natural. So, if you want to improve quickly, I recommend you try shadowing with short audio clips, maybe only 30 seconds at first, and repeat them many times until you feel comfortable. Now let us talk about motivation, because many learners start with a lot of energy. They study hard for 1 week or 2 weeks, but then they feel tired, they stop, and they lose their progress, and that is very normal because our brains like comfort, our brains like to stay in the easy zone. But learning English means you must step into the uncomfortable zone again and again. So how can we stay motivated? The best way is to remember your reason. Why are you learning English? Is it for your career? Is it for travel? Is it for education? Is it to make friends? Is it to connect with the world? You must have a clear reason, and you must remind yourself of that reason every day, because when you feel lazy, you can think of your goal, and it will give you energy. For example, one of my students wrote on a paper, "I want to study in Canada," and she put it on the wall. And every time she looked at it, she felt new motivation. So you can also do that. Write down your reason and put it somewhere you can see. It will help you to continue. Motivation also grows when you see progress, and progress comes when you notice small wins. Do not only wait for the big moment when you are perfect, because that will take time. Instead, celebrate the small steps. Maybe today you understood a full sentence in a movie. Maybe today you spoke to someone without translating in your head. Maybe today you wrote a short message without checking every word. Those are small wins, and they are very important. You should feel proud of them because they show that you are moving forward. And when you feel proud, you will want to keep going. So always notice your progress and enjoy it. Sometimes people tell me, "Jenny, I am afraid I will never speak like a native speaker." And my answer is always this: you do not need to sound exactly like a native speaker. You need to be clear, you need to be confident, and you need to be yourself. English is a tool, it is not your identity. You do not have to erase your accent. You do not have to copy every little thing. What matters is communication. If people understand you and you understand them, that is success. So please do not put pressure on yourself to be perfect. Focus on being confident and clear, and your English will improve much faster. Another tip I want to share with you is about vocabulary. Many learners think they need thousands of words to speak, but actually you can do a lot with only the most common 1,000 or 2,000 words, because those words are used again and again in daily life. So instead of trying to learn very difficult words that you will never use, focus on the common ones and learn them deeply. Learn how they are used in sentences. Learn their different forms. For example, the word run can mean to move fast, but it can also mean to manage something, like run a business. So learning one common word deeply is more useful than learning 10 rare words. And you can do this by reading, by listening, by noticing how words are used, and then practicing them in your own speech. Let me give you another example. One of my students, his name was Ahmed, he used to write down long lists of advanced words because he thought that would make him sound intelligent, but when he tried to speak, he could not remember them. He felt stuck. I told him to stop focusing on rare words and instead choose one simple word each day and try to use it in many sentences. After a few weeks, he was speaking much more smoothly because his active vocabulary became stronger. So remember this, it is not about the number of words you know, it is about how well you can use them. So, as you can see, learning English properly is not about magic or luck. It is about daily habits, motivation, listening, speaking, and using vocabulary and context. And when you follow these steps, you will naturally become faster and more confident. And the best part is that you do not need to study in a boring way. You can enjoy the process. You can listen to music. You can watch shows. You can read stories. You can talk to friends. And through these enjoyable activities, you are still improving. So please believe in yourself, believe in the process, and keep going because I promise you that if you continue, you will reach your goals. Now, I want to go a little bit deeper into the idea of practice because practice is the engine that drives your English forward. Practice is not only repeating words or reading rules. Practice means putting yourself in situations where you actually use the language. And this is something many learners avoid because they are afraid or because they wait for the perfect time. But the truth is the perfect time never comes. You must create the opportunities to practice, and you can do it in many different ways even if you do not live in an English-speaking country. One simple way to practice is to talk to yourself. I know it may sound funny, but it is actually very effective. When you are walking, you can describe what you see. When you are cooking, you can explain what you are doing. When you are planning your day, you can say it out loud in English. And by doing this, you are training your brain to think in English and not always translate. Because the more you practice speaking directly, the more natural it becomes. So even if you have no partner, you can still speak every day. And this habit will give you a lot of confidence. Another powerful way to practice is to record yourself. Use your phone, speak for 2 minutes about any topic, then listen to yourself. At first, you may not like your voice. You may notice mistakes, but this is good because you become aware of how you sound. And awareness is the first step to improvement. After some weeks, you can compare your recordings and you will see progress. Your sentences will become longer. Your pronunciation will become clearer, and you will feel proud of yourself. And that pride will give you energy to continue. Of course, speaking with other people is also important. So if you have friends who are learning English, you can agree to speak together for a few minutes every day. Even if your level is the same, you can help each other because the goal is not to be perfect. The goal is to practice, to use the words, to train your brain, and when you do this regularly, you will both improve. If you do not have friends who want to practice, you can look online. There are many apps and websites where people meet to exchange languages, and you can give your native language to someone and they can give you English. This is called a language exchange, and it is very popular, so do not be shy to try it. Remember, everyone who is there also wants to practice, so you are not alone. Now let's talk about listening in more detail because listening is one of the biggest challenges for many learners. Some people say they can read well, they can even write well, but when they listen to a native speaker, they feel lost. The words seem too fast, the sounds connect, and they cannot catch the meaning. So what can we do? The first step is to listen at the right level. Do not choose something that is far too difficult because you will feel frustrated. Instead, choose something where you can understand maybe 60 or 70%, so you get the meaning, but you also meet new words. That is the sweet spot for learning. If it is too easy, you will not grow. If it is too hard, you will give up, so find the right level. The second step for listening is repetition. Many learners make the mistake of listening only once. They hear a podcast or a video and then they move on, but the brain needs repetition. You should listen to the same material several times. Maybe the first time just listen and relax. The second time, listen more carefully and try to catch new words. The third time, listen and repeat out loud. And the fourth time, maybe write down what you hear. And by doing this, you will really learn the sounds, the rhythm, and the words. So repetition is your friend. Never be afraid to repeat. The third step is variety because your brain should meet different voices, different accents, different speeds. So after you repeat something many times and you feel comfortable, move on to a new source. Maybe a different speaker, maybe a different style, maybe a movie or a song. And this variety will train your ears to adapt because in the real world, people speak in many different ways, and you need to be ready for that. So listen to American English, British English, Australian English, and also listen to non-native speakers, because in the real world you will meet all of them, and the more variety you hear, the more flexible you become. Now, let us think about reading, because reading is also a very useful tool for learning English quickly. When you read in English, you see how words connect, you see the grammar in action, you see the style of sentences, and this input helps your writing and speaking too. So I always encourage learners to read a little bit every day. It does not have to be a big book, it can be short articles, short stories, even social media posts in English, just something small but regular. And when you read, you should not stop for every unknown word that will slow you down. Instead, try to guess from the context. If you see the same word many times and you still do not know it, then you can check the dictionary, but not for every single word, because reading should be smooth, not stressful, and over time your vocabulary will grow naturally. One technique that helps with both listening and reading is called intensive study and extensive study. Intensive means you focus deeply on one short piece of material, maybe a 1-minute audio or one short paragraph, and you analyze it, you repeat it, you shadow it, you look at the grammar, you really study it carefully. But extensive means you just enjoy a lot of material without worrying about every detail. Maybe you listened to a whole podcast episode. Maybe you read a whole chapter of a book, and you just enjoy it, even if you do not understand everything, and both types are important. Intensive gives you depth, extensive gives you breadth, so you should balance them in your routine. Another important area is writing, and many learners ignore writing because they think it is boring or not useful. But writing can actually help your speaking and thinking, because when you write, you are forced to organize your thoughts in English. You are forced to choose the right words, and this practice helps your speaking too. So I suggest you write a little every day. Maybe keep a journal in English. Maybe write a short summary of what you listened to. Maybe write a message to a friend. It does not have to be long, just a few sentences, but if you write every day, your English will become more automatic and your confidence will grow. Now, let me share with you another story, this time about a student named Carlos. He came from Brazil, and he told me that he had been studying English for many years, but he still felt stuck at an intermediate level. He could understand some things, but he could not speak smoothly. He was frustrated, so I asked him about his routine, and he told me that he studied grammar books every weekend, but during the week he did almost nothing in English. I explained to him that consistency is more important than intensity, so I gave him a new plan. Listen to something small every day, speak to yourself every day, write a few sentences every day, and he agreed to try. At first it was difficult, but after 3 months he came back and he was smiling. He said, "Jenny, now I feel free. I can speak without fear. I can understand much more. And I finally feel like I am really learning." So this shows that sometimes the problem is not the language. The problem is the method. And when you change the method, you change the result. So if you are listening right now and you feel stuck, do not worry. You are not alone. Many learners feel this way, but the solution is to adjust your method, to make sure you are giving your brain enough input, enough practice, and enough motivation. And if you do that, you will move forward again. You will see progress, and you will feel proud of yourself. So please do not give up. Keep going, keep practicing. And remember that every small step counts. I want to talk with you about something that many learners forget, and that is confidence, because you can study a lot, you can learn many words, you can practice grammar, but if you do not have confidence, then you will still feel afraid to use your English. And language is not only about knowledge, it is also about courage. It is about being brave enough to open your mouth and share your thoughts even when you are not perfect. And this is where so many learners stop themselves. They think, what if I make a mistake? What if people laugh at me? What if I sound stupid? And because of this fear, they stay silent. And when they stay silent, they cannot practice. And when they cannot practice, they cannot improve. So confidence is not just a nice thing to have. It is actually a very important part of learning English properly. Now, how do we build confidence? The first step is to change your mindset about mistakes. You must stop seeing mistakes as failures and start seeing them as teachers. Every mistake is information. Every mistake shows you what to work on, and every mistake means you are actually trying, because if you never make mistakes, it means you are not using English at all. So the more mistakes you make, the more you learn. This is true for every skill in life. Think about riding a bicycle. Nobody rides perfectly the first time. You fall many times, but each fall teaches you how to balance better, and finally you can ride smoothly. So please remember that mistakes are your friends, they are not your enemies, and when you accept them, your confidence will grow. Another way to build confidence is to prepare yourself for common situations. For example, many learners feel nervous when meeting someone new, so you can prepare a few simple sentences like, "Hi, my name is," or "I am learning English, nice to meet you," and practice them until they are automatic. And when the real situation comes, you can say them without thinking too much, and that will give you a good start. You can do the same for ordering food, for asking directions, for introducing yourself in a class. Just prepare some simple phrases for daily life and practice them again and again, and you will feel ready. And when you feel ready, you will feel confident. Confidence also comes from progress, and progress comes from practice. So the more you practice, the more confident you will become. It is like a circle. Practice gives progress, progress gives confidence, and confidence gives more practice. And this circle keeps going. So even if you feel shy now, remember that confidence is not something you are born with, it is something you build, step by step, and you can build it too. Another important point is to change the voice inside your head, because many learners have a negative voice. They say to themselves, "I am bad at English, I cannot do this, I will never be fluent," and this negative voice kills their motivation and their confidence. So you must replace it with a positive voice. Tell yourself, "I am learning, I am improving, I am better today than yesterday, I can do this." And the more you say these positive things, the more you will believe them, because your brain listens to your own words. So be kind to yourself, support yourself, cheer for yourself, and you will feel stronger. Now let me share a story about one of my students named Hannah. She was from Korea and she was very smart. She studied a lot. She knew many grammar rules, but she was too shy to speak. She always worried about mistakes. She always stayed quiet in class, and her progress was very slow. So I gave her a challenge. I told her, "Hannah, every day you must say at least one sentence in English to someone. It does not matter who. It can be your classmate, it can be me, it can be even to yourself in the mirror, but you must speak at least one sentence." At first she was nervous. She spoke very quietly, but she did it every day, and slowly her voice became louder, her sentences became longer, and after 2 months she gave a full presentation in class. She was not perfect, but she was clear. She was confident, and everyone clapped for her. She told me later that the small daily challenge was the key, because it forced her to face her fear and grow. So remember Hannah's story. Sometimes small steps every day can make a big change. Now, let's talk about another part of learning English properly, which is culture, because language is not only words and grammar, it is also culture. It is the way people use the language in daily life, the way they greet, the way they joke, the way they show respect. And if you want to really understand English, you must also pay attention to culture, because sometimes the words are simple, but the meaning is deeper. For example, in English, when someone says, "How are you?" they are not always asking about your health. Sometimes it is just a greeting, and if you start explaining all your problems, it may sound strange. So understanding culture helps you use the right response at the right time, and this makes your communication smoother. You can learn culture by watching movies, by reading stories, by listening to conversations, and by noticing how people use the language in different situations. And this cultural knowledge will make you more confident, because you will not only know the words, but also how to use them naturally. And that is a very important part of speaking English properly. Another cultural aspect is humor. Many learners say they do not understand English jokes, and that makes them feel left out, but jokes are often based on cultural references. So if you expose yourself to more movies, shows, and social media, you will slowly start to catch the humor, and when you do, it will make conversations more enjoyable, and you will feel more connected to English speakers. So do not worry if you do not understand jokes at first. Just keep listening, keep watching, and little by little you will get it. Now, I want to remind you again about the power of enjoyment, because if you enjoy the process, you will learn faster. Think about a child playing a game. They learn new words very quickly because they are having fun. They are not worried about mistakes. They are not stressed. They are just enjoying. And the same is true for you. So find ways to make English fun, maybe by playing word games, maybe by singing songs, maybe by watching comedy shows, maybe by reading exciting stories. Whatever makes you smile will also make you learn. So do not forget to enjoy yourself. Another point I want to share is about patience. because many learners want results very quickly. They want to speak fluently after 1 month, but language learning does not work like that. It takes time, and if you expect too much too fast, you will feel disappointed. So you must be patient. You must trust the process. You must understand that even if you do not see big changes every day, small changes are happening inside your brain, and one day you will notice that you are speaking more smoothly, that you are understanding more easily, and you will realize that all those small efforts were building up inside you. So patience is very important. To stay patient, you can keep a record of your journey. Maybe write down what you could do this month, then check again after 3 months, and you will see the difference. Because progress is often invisible in the short term, but very visible in the long term. So by keeping a record, you will see proof of your growth, and that will help you to stay patient. Finally, in this part, one want to talk about environment, because your environment can help you or block you. If your environment is full of distractions, if everyone around you speaks only your first language, if you never see or hear English, then your progress will be slower. So you must create an English-friendly environment. You can put English notes on your wall. You can change the language of your phone to English. You can listen to English music in your room. You can follow English pages online, and by doing this, you are surrounding yourself with English every day, and your brain will start to accept it as normal. And when English becomes normal for you, learning becomes much easier. I want to take you deeper into how you can learn English properly and quickly in a way that really fits your daily life. By now, if you have been listening from the beginning of this session, you know that I am not only giving you random tips, I am talking to you in a long, natural flow, just like a podcast where you and I are having a conversation. And this conversation is designed to make your listening skills stronger while also giving you a clear plan on how to make your English better day by day. In this part, I want to focus more on the small details that many people forget when they try to learn English. You see, when you want to get better at English, it is not only about big things like reading a book or watching a movie. It is also about the tiny habits, the small actions, the things you do every day without even noticing them. These little things slowly build up into something very powerful. Now let me ask you, how do you spend your mornings? For example, when you wake up, do you check your phone? Do you drink tea or coffee? Do you go for a walk? In all of these simple routines, you can actually add English in a very easy way. Suppose you wake up and check your phone. Instead of scrolling through your local news or your social media in your language, you could follow 1 or 2 English channels or English podcasts. Just listen to a short piece, maybe 5 minutes, maybe 10 minutes. You do not need to understand every word. You only need to expose your ears to English sounds in the morning. Why is this important? Because your mind is fresh in the morning, and what you hear at that time stays longer in your memory. It is like planting a seed in the soil at the perfect time. The more you do this, the more natural English will sound to you. Another small thing you can do is to describe your morning routine in English. Let me give you an example. You wake up, you can say to yourself, I am brushing my teeth. I am washing my face. I am making tea. I am sitting on the sofa. I am opening my notebook. These are very simple sentences, but when you speak them out loud, you are training your brain to think in English. Many learners make the mistake of keeping English only for study time, like they open a book and say, now I am learning English. But real progress comes when English becomes part of your everyday life, not only study time. If you describe your actions in English, little by little, your brain will start using English naturally without thinking too much. Let us now talk about listening practice during the day. Some learners say, I don't have time to listen to English for hours. But here is the secret. You don't need hours. You need consistency. Imagine you are cooking. While cooking, you can play English audio in the background. You do not have to pay full attention all the time. Just having English sound around you helps your ears to get used to it. This is called passive listening. Passive listening means English is around you, but you are not trying very hard to catch every word. On the other hand, active listening is when you sit down, focus, and try to understand. You need both. Passive listening gives you exposure. Active listening gives you skill. Together, they make you strong. Let me tell you a story of one of my friends. She was learning English for many years, but she never felt confident to speak. Then one day she decided that from morning till night, she would always keep English audio playing in her house. Sometimes she listened carefully, sometimes she just ignored it and did her work. After a few months, she noticed something surprising. She could suddenly understand English movies without subtitles much better than before.
Why?
Because her ears had learned the rhythm, the tone, and the speed of English through daily exposure. This is the power of consistency. Maybe you cannot give 3 hours a day to study, but you can give 5 minutes here, 10 minutes there, and that adds up. Never underestimate the power of small, repeated actions. Now, let us move to the problem of speaking. Many learners tell me, "Jenny, I understand English when I listen, I can read, but I cannot speak well." This is a very common problem. The reason is very simple. You are not giving enough time to speaking practice. You may think that speaking needs a partner, but that is not true. You can practice speaking alone right now, today. For example, you can take any simple object around you and describe it in English. Pick up your phone and say, "This is my phone. It is black. I use it to call my friends. I also use it to watch videos." Very easy. But the act of saying it out loud makes your brain connect words with sound. The more you do this, the faster your speaking ability will grow. You can also tell short stories to yourself. Maybe you went to the market yesterday. You can say, "Yesterday, I went to the market. I bought some apples and bananas. The shopkeeper was friendly. I came home and made a fruit salad." See how simple it is? You don't need big, complex words. Just use simple sentences, but speak them clearly. Over time, your sentences will naturally become longer and more advanced. The key is to start speaking every day, even for 5 minutes. If you are shy, if you feel nervous, remember this. Nobody is listening. It is just you. And every word you say builds your confidence. Another powerful method is shadowing. Shadowing means listening to an English speaker and repeating at the same time. It is like being the shadow of their voice. For example, play an English podcast and try to copy the speaker's words, even if you cannot catch all of them. This trains your mouth to move like a native speaker's mouth. It also helps with pronunciation and rhythm. At first, it feels difficult. You may think, "Oh, I cannot keep up." But with practice, your speed and accuracy improve. This is one of the best exercises to train your speaking muscles. Yes, your tongue and lips are like muscles, and they need exercise to move naturally in English. Now, let's talk about reading. Reading is very important, but many learners make it boring. They try to read difficult novels or academic books and then feel frustrated. My advice is to read things you enjoy. If you like sports, read sports articles in English. If you like fashion, read about fashion. If you like travel, read about travel blogs. When you read about topics you enjoy, you will not feel it as a hard job. Instead, it becomes fun. And when learning is fun, you learn faster. Also, don't forget to read out loud. Reading aloud connects your eyes, your brain, and your mouth together. It improves your pronunciation and makes you comfortable with speaking. Let me give you a small daily plan that many learners find helpful. In the morning, listen to 5 minutes of English audio. During the day, practice speaking to yourself for 10 minutes. In the evening, read something in English for 15 minutes. That is all. This adds up to only 30 minutes in the whole day, but if you do it every day, in 3 months you will feel a big difference. The secret is not to study for long hours only once a week. The secret is to study for short times every single day. This is how you build a strong base. Friends, I want you to remember one more important point. Learning English is not a race. It is a journey. Sometimes you will feel slow, sometimes you will feel fast. Do not compare yourself with others. Compare yourself only with your past self. Ask, am I better today than I was last month? If the answer is yes, then you are on the right path. Even small improvement is still improvement, and small steps taken every day lead to big results in the future. So trust the process, be patient, and continue walking forward. I know by now you have been listening for a long time, and I want to thank you for staying with me. You are showing real dedication, and that is the most important thing in this journey of language learning. Now, in this last part, I want to bring everything together for you. I want to show you how all the little pieces we talked about connect into one strong system. Think of it like building a house. You cannot live inside only the roof, or only the walls, or only the floor. You need all of them together to make a safe and comfortable home. The same is true for English. Listening alone will not give you fluency. Speaking alone will not give you confidence. Reading alone will not give you vocabulary. But when you put them together, listening, speaking, reading, writing, and thinking, you build a complete house of English inside your mind. So, let us start with listening. I have told you many times that listening is the foundation. Without listening, you cannot speak naturally. Listening is like food for your brain. The more you listen, the more your brain collects patterns of English. And what are these patterns? They are sentence structures, rhythm, stress, intonation, and common phrases. When you listen every day, your brain begins to copy these patterns. And when the time comes to speak, you will find the sentences already waiting for you. This is why children learn to speak without grammar books. They listen first for years, and then they speak. So, I want you to never skip listening practice. Even if it is only 5 minutes, keep your ears alive with English every single day. Now speaking. Speaking is the second step, but it is often the most scary step for learners. Many people feel shy, nervous, or worried about making mistakes. But let me tell you something very important. Mistakes are not your enemy. Mistakes are your teacher. Every mistake you make shows you what you need to improve. If you never speak, you never make mistakes, and if you never make mistakes, you never learn. So please take courage and speak, even if your sentences are broken, even if your grammar is not perfect. Remember, the purpose of language is communication, not perfection. If you can share your idea and the other person understands you, then you are already successful. Over time, your sentences will become smoother and your grammar will improve, but that only happens if you keep speaking. Next is reading. Reading is like exercise for your vocabulary. When you read, you see words and phrases in context, and context is the key to remembering. For example, if you just read a list of words like apple, banana, orange, grape, you may forget them quickly. But if you read a story where someone is making a fruit salad and the words apple, banana, orange, grape are used in sentences, your brain will remember them much better. This is why I always suggest reading short stories, articles, or dialogues in English. They give you context, and context gives you memory. Writing is also very powerful, though many learners ignore it. Writing helps you organize your thoughts in English. When you write, you slow down your mind and carefully build sentences. This is like training your brain to think in English. You don't need to write essays or long texts. You can start by writing short diary entries every night. For example, today I went to work. I was busy, but I learned something new. I am happy that I listened to an English podcast. That's all. 3 simple sentences. But if you write every day, after 3 months you will see big progress. Writing also helps you notice grammar naturally, because when you write you often reread your sentences and you see what feels correct and what feels strange. Now, let's talk about thinking in English. This is the invisible skill that nobody sees, but it makes the biggest difference. Many learners try to translate everything from their language into English. That is why they feel slow when speaking. Translation is like a heavy bag you carry on your back. It slows you down. But when you think directly in English, you feel light, free, and fast. The question is, how to start thinking in English? The answer is simple. Use English for simple thoughts. For example, when you see the sky, don't say it in your language, just say in your mind, "The sky is blue." When you are hungry, say in your mind, "I want to eat." These small mental sentences train your brain to move in English without translation. Over time, your thoughts will flow naturally in English, and your speaking will become automatic. I also want to remind you about consistency. Many learners study hard for 1 week, then stop for 1 month, then again study for 2 days, and then stop again. This up and down pattern does not work. Learning English is like watering a plant. If you give it water every day, even a little, it will grow strong. But if you give a big bucket of water one day and then nothing for 10 days, the plant will become weak. The same is true for your English. So please, do not focus on how much time you study. Focus on how regular you are. Even 10 minutes a day is better than 2 hours once a week. Small steps every day beat big steps once in a while. Now, let's imagine your English journey as a story. At first, you are like a baby learning to walk. You take small steps, sometimes you fall, sometimes you stumble, but you always get up again. Then you start walking faster, then you start running, and one day you are running without thinking. This is exactly how English works. At first, you will feel slow and unsure. Then you will gain balance. Then you will gain speed. And finally, you will move with freedom. But remember, no baby learns to walk in one day. They need months of practice. And no learner becomes fluent in English in 1 week. They need months and years of practice. This is not to discourage you. It is to remind you that patience is the most powerful tool you have. If you are patient, you will succeed. Another important point I want to talk about is environment. Your environment decides how fast you learn. If you only spend time in your local language, you will struggle with English. But if you create an English-rich environment around you, your progress will be much faster. You may ask, "Jenny, how can I create an English environment if I live in a country where nobody speaks English?" Don't worry, I understand this problem. You can create your own environment. For example, change your phone language to English. Follow English channels on YouTube. Listen to English podcasts. Join online English communities. Read English posts on social media. Step by step, fill your daily life with English. This is how you build your own environment. Finally, my dear friends, I want to give you some encouragement. I know learning English sometimes feels difficult. Sometimes you may feel tired, or you may feel you are not improving. But I want you to look back and see how far you have already come. Remember the first time you started learning English. Maybe you could not understand anything. But today you are listening to me, to a long podcast in English, and you are following it. This means you have already improved a lot. You are stronger than you think. You are smarter than you believe. And you are closer to fluency than you realize. So here is my final message. Keep going. Do not stop. Even on days when you feel tired, do something small in English. Listen for 5 minutes, read 1 page, write 2 sentences, or speak 1 phrase out loud. These little actions will keep the fire alive. And slowly, without even noticing, you will wake up one day and realize that English is no longer a foreign language. It has become your second language, a natural part of your life. Thank you so much for staying with me through this entire session. I hope you enjoyed learning with me as much as I enjoyed sharing with you. This is Jenny from English Lab, wishing you strength, courage, and joy in your English journey. Keep practicing, keep believing, and remember, you can do this.